Welcome, dear listener, to a journey like no other. As you settle into your cozy bed, let your mind drift to a distant time and place, to the golden sands and shimmering Nile of ancient Egypt. Perhaps you're winding down after a long day, seeking a little escape and adventure before drifting off to sleep. Or maybe you're already tucked beneath the covers, ready to be lulled by the whispered tales of long ago. Wherever you may be, I'm so glad you've chosen to join me tonight. Before we begin our story, as is tradition with our community of nocturnal historians, I'd love to know where in the world you're listening from and what time of day it is for you. Feel free to leave a comment and let me know. And if you enjoy this kind of calm, cozy storytelling that blends history with imagination, be sure to subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now make yourself comfortable, take a slow, deep breath, and let me gently guide you back through the ages. Back to a civilization that has captured imaginations for centuries with its enduring monuments, its golden treasures, and its godlike kings known as pharaohs. Tonight, you'll embark on an extraordinary thought experiment. What would life be like if you, yes you, woke up one morning as one of the greatest pharaohs to ever rule Egypt, Ramesses the Great? Picture yourself stirring from a deep, restful sleep, not in your ordinary, everyday surroundings, but in an opulent bedchamber fit for a king. The first rays of sunlight filter through the stone windows, warming your face as your eyes flutter open. A smile spreads across your lips as you stretch out in your plush bed, adorned with the finest linens Egypt has to offer. You breathe in the desert air, tinged with the scent of lotus blossoms and fragrant oils. Though still early, the palace is already humming with activity as servants, attendants, and officials bustle about, ready to fulfill your every command. For now, though, you simply lie back and marvel at the extraordinary turn your life has taken. Here you are, Pharaoh Ramesses II, Lord of the Two Lands, ruler of Upper and Lower Egypt. The weight of an empire rests on your shoulders, and yet you feel only excitement for the day ahead. There will be time for the duties of statecraft soon enough, but first you will luxuriate in your new station and revel in the finery that comes with being the most powerful man in the known world. As if on cue, a trio of handmaidens enters your chamber, their faces beaming with reverence and affection. They bow low before you, murmuring salutations to their living god. "Good morning, Your Majesty," the boldest of them says. "We hope you slept well. It is time to prepare you for the day ahead." With that, they usher you from your bed, leading you to a washing area where scented water and plush towels await. You marvel at the gentle efficiency with which they bathe you, so different from your usual rushed morning shower. Once cleaned and refreshed, it's time to dress the part of the mighty pharaoh. The handmaidens retrieve your finely woven linen robes and shimmering golden collar from a carved chest, handling them as if they were sacred relics. You can't help but feel a swell of pride as they drape you in the flowing white fabric, so light and airy in the desert heat. Next comes the pièce de résistance, the iconic double crown that symbolizes your dominion over Upper and Lower Egypt. The red hedget crown of Lower Egypt nestles into the white deshret crown of Upper Egypt, creating the distinctive silhouette that will strike awe and fear into all who behold you. As the handmaidens affix the crown to your head, adjusting it just so, you feel a new sense of power and purpose wash over you. Finally, your face is skillfully lined with the signature kohl makeup that not only accentuates your features, but also serves as protection against the glare of the sun. With your eyes artfully rimmed in black, you truly look the part of the mighty ruler you've become. You take a moment to admire your transformed reflection in a polished bronze mirror. Is that really you staring back? The majestic figure in the royal regalia, eyes blazing with otherworldly confidence. It's almost too much to believe. And yet, here you are, ready to embrace your new identity and all that comes with it. But how did you come to be in this exalted position? Your mind reels back to your origins, to the privileged upbringing that put you on the path to power. As the son of the great Pharaoh Seti I, you were born into a world of unspeakable wealth and opportunity. From your earliest days, you were groomed to one day take your place on the throne, your destiny preordained by the gods themselves. Looking back, it's clear that no expense was spared in preparing you for your glorious fate. You were given the finest education Egypt had to offer, learning at the feet of the most brilliant scribes and scholars. You pored over sacred scrolls, mastering the complex hieroglyphic script and the wisdom of the ages. You studied the principles of mathematics, architecture, and astronomy, knowing that one day you would be responsible for great works that would endure for eternity. But book learning was only one facet of your princely upbringing. As a future warrior king, you were also expected to excel in the arts of combat and physical prowess. You trained tirelessly with the best fighters in the land, honing your skills with bow, spear, and chariot. You learned to ride like the wind across the desert sands, striking fear into the hearts of your enemies. Through it all, you were keenly aware of the weight of expectation that rested on your young shoulders. To be Pharaoh was to be a living god, the earthly embodiment of the mighty sun god Ra. You would be responsible not just for the earthly realm, but for maintaining the delicate balance between the worlds of the living and the divine. It was a daunting prospect, but one you embraced with the fiery determination that would come to define your reign. As you came of age, your path to power crystallized before you. In a solemn ceremony, you were crowned as co-ruler alongside your aging father, Seti I. Side by side, you governed Egypt, the older pharaoh imparting his wisdom and experience to his eager protege. But you yearned to make your own mark, to steer Egypt to even greater heights of prosperity and glory. When at last your father passed into the afterlife, you ascended the throne in your own right. In an elaborate coronation ceremony, you were anointed with sacred oils, adorned with the gleaming regalia of kingship, and presented to your subjects as their new divine ruler. As the crowds roared their approval and the priests chanted your praises, you felt an almost unearthly sense of purpose settle over you. This was your destiny, your birthright, and you would not squander it. From that day forward, you ruled Egypt as Pharaoh Ramesses II, a king whose name would echo through the ages. With your crowning, a new era dawned over the two lands, an age of unparalleled might, prosperity, and grandeur. And you, the living God, would be the author of it all. As the handmaidens make their final adjustments to your regalia, you let the memories of your glorious rise wash over you. Every challenge overcome, every triumph hard won, they have all led to this moment, to your new life as the supreme ruler of the world's greatest civilization. With a nod of satisfaction at your reflection, you turn to face the day ahead. There will be petitioners to hear, decrees to make, monuments to plan. The affairs of the kingdom await your guiding hand. But for all the duties that weigh on you, you cannot suppress a thrill of excitement. For you are the Pharaoh, the morning and the evening star. And your story is only just beginning. To be continued. As the morning sun climbs higher in the cloudless sky, its rays filtering through the palace's alabaster windows grow brighter, signaling the true start of your day as Pharaoh. A gentle knock at the door rouses you from your final moments of repose. Enter, you call out, your voice still thick with sleep. Your most trusted advisor, Pharoh, steps into the chamber and bows low. My king, the day's affairs are in order and await your wise judgment. You nod in acknowledgement, knowing that ruling Egypt is a relentless responsibility that waits for no man, not even a living god like yourself. Swinging your legs over the side of the gilded bed, your feet sink into plush-woven rugs imported from lands far beyond Egypt's borders, a testament to your kingdom's wealth and reach. You stretch languidly, feeling the satisfying pull in your muscles, still honed and powerful despite the many years since your days as a warrior prince. Your team of attendants flows into the room in a well-rehearsed dance, each with a specific role in preparing you to greet your subjects. Some carry fine linens and intricately embroidered robes, others bear trays laden with glittering gold and lapis lazuli jewelry. First, you are escorted to a cedar basin filled with fresh, flower-scented water. Using soft cloths, the servants gently wash the night's slumber from your skin, taking care not to splash even a drop onto the polished limestone floors. Once cleansed, you are draped in a crisp white shendit kilt, its pristine linen so finely woven it's almost translucent. Next comes a resplendent robe dyed a rich shade of turquoise, the vibrant hue a symbol of your connection to the life-giving Nile. Your dresses clasp an array of exquisite jewelry around your neck, wrists and biceps, wide collars of gold inlaid with carnelian and malachite, strands of luminous pearls, and cuffs engraved with protective hieroglyphs. Each piece has been painstakingly crafted by the most skilled artisans in the land, their beauty rivaled only by the sacred objects adorning the god's own statues. But it is not mere adornment that marks your divine status. It is the sacred rituals your servants now perform, their every gesture imbued with deep reverence. One attendant steps forward with a jar of coal, using a delicate ivory wand to line your eyes with the dramatic black cosmetic. This not only accentuates your already commanding gaze, but also invokes the fierce beauty of Horus, the falcon-headed god whose all-seeing eyes guard the throne of Egypt. Another servant anoints your limbs with precious oils, their earthy, spiced scents mingling in the air. Cedar from Lebanon, frankincense from Punt, myrrh from Nubia. These fragrant unguents are as much a display of Egypt's prosperity as they are a sensual indulgence. Finally, it is time for the ultimate symbol of your authority, the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. An attendant solemnly approaches, carrying the hedjet, the regal white bowling pin-shaped crown of Upper Egypt. With utmost care, he places it upon your brow before adding the deshret, the conic red crown of Lower Egypt, nesting them together to form the shent, the towering double crown. As the combined weight of the crowns settles on your head, you feel the full gravity of your position. You are more than a king. You are the unifier of the two lands, the living bridge between the realms of mortals and gods. Every decision you make, every decree you utter, carries the weight of divine law. Fully arrayed in your royal regalia, you stride from the bedchamber, parza falling into step just behind your right shoulder. The polished stone halls of the palace seem to glow in your presence, shimmering with the early morning light. Courtiers and servants alike bow as you pass, murmuring reverential greetings. All hail Pharaoh Rameses, the Great One. May he live forever. You emerge into a grand columned hall, its soaring limestone pillars carved to resemble papyrus reeds, their unfurled tops painted in vivid shades of turquoise, ochre, and Nile green. The cool, shadowed space hums with a sense of anticipation as your advisors, nobles, and priests await your arrival. Parza leans in discreetly to murmur in your ear, his voice low and steady. My king, the day's petitions and affairs are ready for your judgment. The harvest reports from the Delta are most promising, and the tribute from Nubia has arrived, including a magnificent black granite statue for your new temple. However, there is also troubling news from the eastern frontier, rumors of Hittite encroachments on our vassal states. Your generals await your command. You absorb the information with a grave nod, your mind already spinning with the intricacies of statecraft and diplomacy. To be Pharaoh is to hold the fate of Egypt in your hands, to navigate the shifting currents of power and fortune with an ever-steady hand. With a deep breath, you ascend the dais to your throne, the gleaming golden seat adorned with lions and falcons, the protective emblems of kings. As you settle onto the sun-warmed surface, your advisors bow low, ready to present the day's business for your consideration. And so begins another day in the life of Ramesses the Great, the living god, the ruler of all Egypt. It is a life of unparalleled power and privilege, but also one of immense responsibility and relentless duty. From managing the life-giving floods of the Nile, to defending the kingdom's borders, to communing with the gods themselves, every moment is devoted to the greater glory of Egypt. As you turn your attention to the first petitioner of the day, a weathered old farmer seeking permission to dig a new irrigation canal, you can't help but reflect on the long and winding path that led you to this exalted position. It is a story of ambition and destiny, of love and loss, of battles won and monuments built. A story that began long before you drew your first breath, and one that will endure long after you depart for the West. But that is a tale for another time. For now, you have a kingdom to rule and a legacy to build. With a wave of your bejeweled hand, you bid the farmer to approach, ready to dispense the justice and wisdom that is the birthright of a pharaoh. And so the day unfolds, a tapestry of moments both grand and mundane, each one shaping the destiny of Egypt under the watchful gaze of Ramesses the Great. From the gleaming halls of the palace to the distant sands of the battlefield, your presence looms large, a living embodiment of the God's will on earth. It is a life that few can imagine, and even fewer can truly comprehend. A life of power and purpose, of grandeur and grit. A life where every decision, every action ripples through the fabric of history, shaping the course of an entire civilization. As the sun begins its slow descent toward the western horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and crimson, you finally retire to your private chambers, the weight of the day's events settling heavily on your broad shoulders. You shed the layers of royal finery like a serpent shedding its skin, the gold and linen giving way to simple linen robes, soft against your sun-bronzed skin. Your attendants remove the double crown with reverent hands, and suddenly, you are not Pharaoh Ramesses, the living god, but simply a man with hopes and dreams, fears and regrets. You step out onto the balcony, the warm evening breeze caressing your face as you gaze out over the sprawling expanse of your capital. The mud brick houses and gleaming temples, the bustling market squares and serene palace gardens. All of it is yours to command and protect. In the distance, the Nile winds like a ribbon of liquid silver, its life-giving waters, the lifeblood of your kingdom. You think of the countless generations of Egyptians who have lived and died on its shores, their lives intertwined with the eternal cycle of the river's floods. And as the first stars begin to flicker in the darkening sky, you can't help but wonder about your own place in that vast tapestry of history. Will your name be remembered in the centuries to come? Will your monuments endure the relentless march of time? Will your legacy be one of greatness or of folly? Only the gods can say for certain. But one thing you do know, you will give every fibre of your being to ensure that Egypt prospers under your rule. For you are Pharaoh Ramesses, the Great One, the chosen of the gods. And your story, like the story of Egypt itself, is one that will echo through the ages, a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit. With that thought, you turn back to your chamber, ready to sink into the welcoming embrace of your bed. Tomorrow will bring new challenges, new triumphs, new chapters in the ever-unfolding saga of your reign. But for now, you let sleep claim you, your dreams filled with visions of the glories yet to come. Your eyes drift shut as the last notes of the harp fade into the tranquil night. The sweet fragrance of lotus oil still perfumes the air. As you slip into slumber, your thoughts wander back over the incredible arc of your life as the mighty Pharaoh Rameses II. From those early days as a young prince, you had been groomed for greatness. Your father, Seti I, had seen the spark of a leader in you and nurtured it with the finest education and military training Egypt had to offer. You learned to wield a bow and a sword with deadly precision, to command armies and inspire men to follow you into battle and glory. But you were also educated in the ways of wisdom and statecraft. The greatest minds in the kingdom had filled your head with knowledge of history, religion, architecture, agriculture, all the complex workings that kept the sacred land of Egypt thriving. You studied the art of diplomacy, learning to forge alliances and negotiate with foreign powers. Even in those early years, it was clear you were destined to be more than just another forgotten prince. You had a hunger, a drive to prove yourself worthy of the legacy of your forebears. When you stood before the gods on the day of your coronation, resplendent in your double crown and sacred regalia, you could feel the weight of that destiny settling upon your shoulders. As you took your first steps as the divine ruler of Egypt, you vowed to be a pharaoh unlike any other, to expand Egypt's glory and might to unprecedented heights, to make your mark on history and leave a legacy that would endure for thousands of years to come. In those first years of your reign, you threw yourself into the role of ruler with passion and zeal. Your days were filled from sunrise to sunset with the ceaseless duties of kingship. Each morning, after your elaborate regimen of bathing, dressing, and sacred rituals, you would hold court in your resplendent audience chamber, hearing the petitions and pleas of your subjects. Farmers begged for assistance with irrigation for their crops. Architects presented plans for new temples and monuments. Priests gave updates on the flooding of the Nile and the spiritual state of the kingdom. You listened to them all with an attentive ear, dispatching orders and judgments with the supreme confidence of a living God. But ruling Egypt required more than just sitting upon a golden throne. You knew that a pharaoh's true duty was to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order and balance that kept the kingdom prosperous and the gods appeased. And so you poured your energy into grand projects and initiatives that would uplift Egypt to new heights. You oversaw the expansion of the great temple complexes at Karnak and Luxor, lavishing them with colossal statues and glittering embellishments that proclaimed your own divinity. You ordered the construction of a new capital city, Pi Rameses, a dazzling metropolis of palaces and gardens that would be the jewel of your kingdom. But of all your monumental building projects, none would match the awe-inspiring majesty of Abu Simbel. Carved out of the living rock of a mountainside, the massive temple complex featured 4 titanic statues of yourself, looming over 60 feet tall. It was a feat of engineering and artistry that had never been seen before, a testament to your power and ambition that would endure for millennia. Of course, a pharaoh was not just a builder, but a warrior as well. You proved your mettle on the battlefield, time and time again, leading your armies to triumph against the Hittites, the Nubians, and the Libyans. Riding at the head of your war chariot, you were a force of nature, smashing through enemy lines with a fearsome battle cry. Your courage and skill in combat quickly became the stuff of legend, immortalized in the reliefs and inscriptions that adorned your temples and monuments. In the great clash with the Hittites at the Battle of Kadesh, you led the Egyptian forces to a decisive victory, cementing your reputation as a warrior without equal. But even the mightiest of pharaohs cannot escape the more personal trials and tragedies of life. Though you had a vast harem of wives and concubines, your heart belonged always to your beloved chief queen, Nefertari. Her beauty, wisdom, and devotion were a constant comfort and support to you through the long years of your reign. When she died, you grieved for her deeply. pouring your sorrow into the construction of her magnificent tomb in the Valley of the Queens. You had always known that the price of your power was a certain kind of solitude, a distance from the rest of humanity. But losing Nefertari felt like losing a piece of your own soul. As the years went on, and your reign approached the 7-decade mark, you could feel the weight of time pressing upon you. Your once boundless energy began to falter, your keen mind to drift and cloud. You had achieved so much, expanded Egypt's reach and influence to unprecedented heights. But you knew that your time was drawing to a close. With a final burst of vigor and foresight, you invested great effort into grooming your 13th son Merneptah to take your place upon the throne. Long overlooked in the teeming royal brood, Merneptah had grown into a man of strength and capability, tempered by the wisdom of age. You could go to your grave knowing that Egypt would be in good hands. When at last death came to claim you, your people mourned you as they had no other pharaoh before. The ceremonies and rituals of your funeral were of a scale and grandeur befitting a god on earth. Mummified and adorned with your most precious possessions, you were laid to rest in the unparalleled splendor of your tomb in the Valley of the Kings. As your Ba and Ka journeyed to the afterlife to join the gods, the people of Egypt returned to their lives, forever changed by the era of prosperity, artistic flourishing, and military glory you had ushered in. Your legacy was carved for all eternity into stone, written in the pages of history for all the ages to come. That legacy endures even now, thousands of years later. Modern Egyptians still live and work in the shadows of the monuments you raised, the temples and obelisks and colossal statues. Your name is still spoken with reverence and awe, a byword for greatness and achievement. And so, as you drift off into the restful sleep of the just and the worthy, you can do so with the satisfaction of a life well lived. A life that transformed Egypt and the world, that left an indelible mark on the shifting sands of history. The life of Ramesses the Great, the eternal Pharaoh. In your dreams, you see the faces of your people, the shining glory of your kingdom at its zenith. You see the monuments and wonders you leave behind as a testament to your extraordinary existence. And though your eyes are closed, your soul is at peace, knowing that as long as the Nile flows and the pyramids stand tall, your name and your legacy will never be forgotten. Sleep now, great Ramesses. Sleep and become one with legend, one with the gods, one with the eternal sands of time. Your story is forever written in stone and papyrus and the memories of men, a story of power and destiny, of triumph and loss, of a man who lived as a god on earth. As your consciousness drifts away on the gentle currents of slumber, the last thought in your mind is one of profound gratitude. Gratitude for the gift of this life, for the chance to have walked the earth as a colossus bestriding 2 lands. Gratitude for the love and loyalty of your subjects, for the courage and skill of your armies, for the wisdom and counsel of your advisors. But above all, gratitude for the favor of the gods, who chose you out of all men to bear the heavy crown of the pharaohs. As the veil of sleep descends over your mind like a gentle mist, you know that you will dream of Egypt, of its shimmering cities and verdant fields, its mighty temples and vast deserts, the land that gave you life and purpose, that shaped you into the man and the ruler you became. In your mind's eye, you see it all again. The great battles and the quiet moments, the triumphs and the sorrows. A lifetime of memories, of glories and challenges and joys beyond measure. The privilege of having lived at the very pinnacle of human experience. And so you surrender yourself to the warm embrace of sleep, secure in the knowledge that your story will endure, whispered by the wind over the dunes, echoed in the hearts of your people. The story of Ramesses, the son of Ra, the great king, the eternal Pharaoh. May Yorka live, may Yorka live, may Yorka live forever. As a pharaoh, your day is filled with grand responsibilities and awe-inspiring ceremonies, but also quieter moments of reflection and rest. With the sun now high overhead, you retire to your private quarters to escape the midday heat. Ornate columns cast long shadows across the polished limestone floors. A gentle breeze carries the scent of lotus blossoms from the palace gardens. Attendants fan you with long ostrich feather fans and offer refreshments: chilled pomegranate juice, sweet figs, and freshly baked bread. You lounge on a daybed draped with sumptuous linens, lost in thought as you gaze at vibrant hieroglyphics adorning the walls. They depict your accomplishments, your victories, your communion with the gods. Each colourful scene reminds you of your divine purpose. You are no ordinary ruler, but a living embodiment of the god Horus, son of Osiris and Isis. The people of Egypt depend on you to maintain Ma'at, order and balance, and to communicate with the gods on their behalf. It is a weighty responsibility, but one you have spent a lifetime preparing for. Your mind wanders to memories of your youth, when your destiny was not yet set in stone. As a young prince, you studied alongside the children of nobles and high officials at the palace school. You learned to read and write the sacred hieroglyphic script, a rare skill reserved for the elite. You memorized the names and attributes of the many Egyptian gods and goddesses. You practiced graceful calligraphy and pored over dense papyrus scrolls detailing religious rituals, government administration, and the accumulated wisdom of mathematicians, astronomers, and physicians. But your education extended far beyond the classroom walls. In the temple, you were initiated into the deeper mysteries of the priesthood, discovering the hidden meanings underlying the public myths and ceremonies. In the army barracks, seasoned generals taught you military strategy and combat skills. You learned to handle a bow and throw a spear, to command a chariot and rally troops to battle. Perhaps most essentially, you absorbed the subtle art of statecraft by observing your father, the reigning pharaoh. At his side, you met with dignitaries from distant lands, gifts and treaties exchanged with great fanfare. You stood tall and somber at religious festivals as he made offerings to the gods on behalf of all Egypt. You watched him dispense justice in the royal court, discerning truth from falsehood, mercy from severity. Gradually, you internalized what it meant to be pharaoh, equal parts diplomat and warrior, priest and judge, god and man. All those years of rigorous preparation led to the moment of your coronation, when the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt was placed upon your head. The crown itself was a potent symbol of your authority, uniting Egypt's two lands. The white Hedjit crown of Upper Egypt represented the divine right of kingship, while the red Deshret crown of Lower Egypt conveyed your dominion over the rich lands of the Nile Delta. Together, they proclaimed you the undisputed ruler of all Egypt. The coronation rituals were elaborate, each step imbued with layers of spiritual meaning. Priests in pristine white linen robes anointed you with sacred oils and recited prayers and incantations. You felt divine energy coursing through your body as the gods bestowed their blessings and power upon you. Holding the crook and flail, symbols of kingship and divine authority, you swore solemn oaths to uphold Ma'at, to defend Egypt against chaos and enemies, to be a wise and just ruler, to provide for your people, to honor the gods and maintain their temples. In that pivotal moment, you ceased to be merely human. You became a living god, the son of Ra, the intermediary between the earthly and celestial realms. The awesome responsibility settled on your shoulders like a weighty mantle, but so too did an immense sense of pride and purpose. You knew, with unshakable certainty, that you had been chosen by the gods themselves to lead Egypt to greatness. As you lay on your daybed, savoring a rare moment of quiet solitude, the memories of your coronation fill you with renewed determination. Egypt faces challenges on many fronts: threats from foreign powers, a burgeoning population to feed and employ, temples and tombs to be built. But you will face those trials with all the strength and wisdom at your disposal. For you are Pharoh, the living Horus, the son of Ra. Your destiny is to rule, to build, to leave an eternal legacy, and with the gods as your guides, you will fulfill that momentous destiny. Gradually, your reminiscences give way to a welcome afternoon drowsiness. The gentle whisper of the palm fronds, the muted footsteps of the attendants, the warmth of the sun-baked stone walls, all conspire to lull you into a light slumber. You know this brief repose will be cut short by the never-ending demands of kingship. But for now, you surrender to the restorative powers of sleep, gathering strength and clarity for the duties still to come. For you are the Pharaoh, God among men, and Egypt looks to you to shape its fate. As your royal barge drifts lazily down the Nile, the gentle rocking and warm breeze slowly lulls you into a peaceful afternoon slumber. Gliding past lush green banks and bustling villages, you dream of your magnificent temple at Abu Simbel taking shape in the distance. Even in sleep, visions of its construction occupy your thoughts. The colossal statues being painstakingly carved directly into the cliffside, bearing your likeness for all eternity. Teams of skilled stonecutters, sculptors, painters, and laborers toiling day after day to bring this monument to life. You dream of the day it will be complete, a testament to your power and glory as the divine ruler of Egypt. Your mind wanders to the great challenges that had to be overcome, transporting the heavy stone blocks, raising them into place, carving the intricate reliefs, the brilliant engineering and backbreaking labor required to build on such a monumental scale. With sheer force of will, you bend men and nature to your grand vision. Stirring from your nap, you notice the sun beginning its descent toward the horizon, bathing the landscape in a warm, golden glow. Your barge approaches the construction site at Abu Simbel, and you rise for a closer look, still shaking off the lingering wisps of sleep. As you step onto the shore, you're greeted by a flurry of activity. Hundreds of workers scurrying about, covered in dust and sweat, chisels and mallets in hand. The sounds of their tools striking stone echo across the sand dunes. Taskmasters shout orders and encouragement, spurring the men to work faster, harder, for their God King. You pause to admire the progress. The facade of the great temple is taking shape. 4 colossal statues of yourself seated on thrones, towering nearly 70 feet high. Smaller statues of your beloved wife Nefertari and your many children stand dutifully at your feet. It's a stunning sight to behold, even in its unfinished state. Wandering inside, you marvel at the cavernous halls being carved deep into the mountainside. The sanctuary will be lined with more larger-than-life statues and exquisite wall carvings depicting your greatest victories and tributes to the gods. The scale and artistry are breathtaking. But Abu Simbel holds a much greater purpose than mere vanity. Positioned at Egypt's southern frontier, it will serve as a mighty symbol of your strength and influence, instilling awe and fear in the hearts of the Nubian people you have conquered. A warning to any who would dare challenge the power of mighty Egypt and its divine Pharaoh. As you survey the work with satisfaction, one of your chief engineers approaches hesitantly, bowing low. He nervously explains the latest challenge: the need to cut and transport more stone blocks from distant quarries to complete the temple's roof and interior halls. Resources are stretched thin, and workers are reaching the point of exhaustion. But you dismiss his concerns with a wave of your hand. No obstacle is too great for the mighty Ramesses. You declare that more men and supplies will be sent at once, that work will continue day and night if necessary. Abu Simbel must be completed on schedule, in time for the Jubilee Festival honoring your 30th year on the throne. It will be your crowning achievement. With renewed determination, you order an extra ration of beer for the workers to keep their strength and spirits high. A cheer goes up as you depart the site, your heart swelling with pride and anticipation of seeing your glorious vision made real in stone. As your barge sets off for the return journey to Thebes, you settle back on your gilded couch, your mind still abuzz with plans and ideas. The gentle lapping of the waves against the hull slowly soothes you as the day's exertions catch up. Your eyes grow heavy as the sun sinks below the horizon, content in the knowledge that your dreams of grandeur are slowly taking solid form in the desert sands behind you. But even the greatest of pharaohs cannot build monuments on dreams alone. As you drift off to sleep, your thoughts turn to the battles that still lay ahead. The skirmishes with Nubian rebels who resist your rule, the growing threat of the Hittite Empire to the north, the careful diplomacy and show of strength needed to keep your enemies at bay and your kingdom prosperous. These are the heavy burdens that weigh on the heart of a pharaoh, even in moments of rest and repose. For now, you push them aside, allowing the gentle motion of the barge and the soft murmur of the Nile lapping at its banks to carry you off to a deep and dreamless sleep, gathering your strength for the challenges to come. As the first stars begin to twinkle in the darkening sky, your barge carries on through the tranquil waters, ferrying its slumbering king ever closer to home and the next chapter in his illustrious reign. The moon rises high and full, casting its shimmering reflection on the river's surface, a celestial mirror guiding you onward. For a few precious moments, all is calm and peaceful on the waters. The only sounds are the creaking of the hull, the soft splash of the oars, the distant call of a bird winging its way home to roost. In sleep, your cares and concerns momentarily fade away, replaced by the simple contentment of a day well lived and a legacy in the making. As the barge rounds a bend in the river, the twinkling lights of Thebes appear on the horizon, a welcoming beacon guiding you back to the grand palaces and hallowed halls of your capital. Your escort of elite guards stands at attention, ready to receive their king and escort him safely to his well-earned rest. In the morning, you will rise with the sun to don your crown and take up the mantle of leadership once more. But for now you slumber deep and untroubled, lulled by the river's gentle current and the satisfaction of a day spent in service to your kingdom and your everlasting legacy. The cares of the realm can wait a few moments more, put off to tomorrow's concerns. For in this moment, you are not just a mighty ruler, but a man at peace with his world and his place in it. The gift of restful repose is one even a living God can cherish, a brief respite that will leave you awakened and restored, ready to face whatever challenges the new day may bring. So sleep deeply and contentedly, great Rameses, secure in your accomplishments and the knowledge that your story has only just begun. As the barge finally reaches the palace dock and you are gently roused from your slumbers, you reflect on the events of the day with quiet satisfaction. The construction of Abu Simbel is proceeding apace, your kingdom is secure and prosperous, and your legacy grows with each passing day. With a final sleepy sigh, you allow your attendants to guide you down the gangplank and up the torch-lit path to your private chambers. The cool night air and soft rustle of the garden trees soothe your drowsy senses as you make your way inside, ready to sink into the welcoming embrace of your bed. Your head barely touches the pillow before sleep claims you once more, carrying you off to a world of dreams where all your grandest ambitions have already been realized. In sleep, you are the greatest pharaoh Egypt has ever known, your name and deeds celebrated for all eternity. As the night deepens and the palace grows still and silent around you, you slumber on, content and secure in the knowledge that you are exactly where you are meant to be, at the center of a thriving kingdom, a god among men, the one true ruler of the Nile. And so you will remain, now and forever, immortalized in stone and story, a legend for the ages. Good night, great Ramesses. May your dreams be as grand and glorious as the waking world you have built. Ascending to the throne beside your father Seti the Fern, you serve as co-ruler for 2 years near the end of his 11-year reign. Though a brief period, these formative years under Seti's guidance prove invaluable in preparing you for the immense responsibility of ruling Egypt alone. You watch and learn as Seti skillfully manages the affairs of the kingdom, from overseeing agricultural production to launching military campaigns to defending Egypt's borders. Your father is a strong leader, but he also has a softer side. In quiet moments, he regales you with stories of his own father, Ramesses I, who rose from common origins to be appointed pharaoh by the previous king, Horemheb, who had no heir. It's a reminder that while you may rule as a god on earth, you are still part of a human dynasty, with all the triumphs and challenges that entails. As Seti's health declines, you take on more responsibilities, easing the burden on the aging king. You preside over ceremonies, make offerings to the gods, and even lead military expeditions to quell uprisings in Nubia. The people begin to see you as their future ruler, a reassuring presence in a time of transition. When Seti passes away in 1279 BC, you grieve the loss of your father and mentor. But there is little time to mourn. Egypt looks to you now to lead them into the future. You rise to the occasion, taking on the full regalia and titles of a pharaoh in your coronation ceremony. The priests anoint you with sacred oils and place the double crown upon your head, proclaiming you as the divine ruler of Upper and Lower Egypt. In these early years of your reign, you set out to make your mark. You launch an ambitious building program, expanding the great temple complex at Karnak with towering obelisks and grand hypostyle halls filled with columns. You commission statues of yourself and your family, ensuring that your likeness will endure for eternity. But you know that a pharaoh's legacy is built on more than stone and gold. You must also defend Egypt's borders and expand its influence. You lead military campaigns into Nubia, securing the valuable trade routes and gold mines to the south. You also clash with the Hittites, your rivals to the north, in a series of battles that will culminate in the legendary Battle of Kadesh. As you settle into your role as ruler, you rely on the support of your great royal wife, Nefertari. She is your confidant, your advisor, and the mother of your children. Together, you preside over a golden age of art, architecture, and prosperity in Egypt. But even in times of peace, a pharaoh's work is never done. Each morning, you rise before dawn to begin your daily rituals and duties anew. You offer prayers and sacrifices to the gods, ensuring their continued favor and protection over Egypt. You hold court, hearing petitions from your subjects and dispensing justice. You meet with your advisors, strategizing on matters of diplomacy, trade, and warfare. In rare moments of respite, you retreat to your private quarters in the palace. Here, surrounded by lush gardens and soothing pools, you can shed the weight of your responsibilities for a time. You indulge in simple pleasures, a game of senit with your vizier, a meal with your family, a quiet moment to contemplate the legacy you are building. For you know that your reign, no matter how long and prosperous, is just a brief chapter in the grand story of Egypt. One day, you too will pass into the afterlife, entombed in the Valley of the Kings, with all the splendor befitting a pharaoh. But for now, you savor each day as a gift from the gods, an opportunity to shape the course of history and leave an indelible mark on the land you rule. As the years pass, your accomplishments mount. The great temples at Abu Simbel, with their colossal statues of you hewn directly from the cliffs, take shape under your watchful eye. Your campaigns against the Hittites, though hard fought, secure Egypt's northern borders, and culminate in a historic peace treaty. You bring prosperity and stability to Egypt, earning the love and respect of your people. But time spares no one, not even a pharaoh. As you enter the twilight of your reign, your thoughts turn to succession. You have outlived many of your heirs, but your 13th son, Meneptah, shows great promise. You groom him carefully, entrusting him with increasing responsibilities, knowing that one day the double crown will pass to him. When that day finally comes, you depart this world, confident that you have done your duty. You have ruled Egypt with strength and wisdom. You have honored the gods, and you have left a legacy that will endure for centuries to come. As your funeral barge carries you across the Nile one last time, the people line the shores to bid you farewell. They know that your story, the story of Ramesses the Great, will live on forever, inscribed on the walls of your tombs and temples, and in the hearts of all who call Egypt home. And so, as you drift off into the eternal sleep of the afterlife, you do so with a sense of peace and fulfillment. You have walked the path of the gods, you have shaped the course of an empire, and you have secured your place in history. The great Pharaoh Ramesses II, the legend, now belongs to the ages. As the centuries pass, your monuments endure, even as the sands of time shift around them. The temples at Abu Simbel, Karnak, and Luxor stand as testaments to your greatness, drawing pilgrims and admirers from across the ancient world. The Ramesseum, your mortuary temple, houses your larger-than-life legacy, quite literally, with its towering statues and intricate reliefs. But perhaps your greatest legacy is the impact you had on the people of Egypt themselves. The prosperity and stability you brought allowed art, culture, and learning to flourish. The scribes in the houses of life, the temple's centers of learning, preserve and advance the wisdom of the ages. The artisans in the necropolis of Deir el-Medina, who built the tombs of the Valley of the Kings, pass down their skills from father to son, from mother to daughter, and so, even as the new kingdom gives way to the later periods of ancient Egyptian history, your influence endures. When the Greeks and Romans come, drawn by the wonders of Egypt's past, it is your name and your monuments that inspire their awe. The great Greco-Roman historian Diodorus Siculus would write of you, "In short, if someone ponders the number of years of these kings' lives, and then reckons the monuments and the deeds accomplished by each king, he will find that the reports recorded in Egyptian writings are true." In modern times, your legacy continues to captivate. When the temples of Abu Simbel were threatened by the rising waters of the Aswan Dam in the 1960s, the world came together to save them, meticulously cutting them from the cliffs and moving them to higher ground. Today, they stand as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, a testament to your enduring greatness and the global effort to preserve it. And so, as we drift off to sleep, we can imagine ourselves walking in your footsteps, great Ramesses. We can feel the weight of the double crown upon our brow, the warmth of the sun on the banks of the Nile, the cool of the evening breeze in the palace gardens. We can marvel at the monuments you built, the battles you fought, the legacy you left. For in our dreams, we are all pharaohs, kings and queens of our own destinies. And in the quiet of the night, as we slumber, perhaps we can hear the whisper of your voice across the ages, urging us to make our own mark, to build our own monuments, to leave our own legacy. For as long as there are those who remember and dream, the story of Ramesses the Great and the story of ancient Egypt itself will never truly end. As the gentle mantle of sleep draws over us, we bid farewell to Ramesses and his world. The sounds of the ancient Nile fade into the quiet of the night. The gleaming halls of the palace dissolve into the comforting darkness behind our eyelids. But the wonder, the majesty, and the timeless lessons of this journey remain with us, woven into the fabric of our dreams. Perhaps, as we drift off, we carry with us a newfound appreciation for the power of leadership, the importance of legacy, and the enduring impact a single life can have on the course of history. Or maybe, in the whimsical way of dreams, we simply revel in the adventure of it all. The exotic sights, the grand battles, the opulent feasts fit for a pharaoh. But most of all, we carry with us the sense of connection to something greater, a link in the long chain of human history. For in walking the path of Ramesses, even if only in our imagination, we have touched something timeless, something that speaks to the shared hopes, dreams, and struggles of all who have come before and all who will follow. And so, as the last vestiges of this dream slip away, we surrender to the peaceful embrace of sleep, knowing that the wonders of ancient Egypt and the enduring story of Ramesses the Great will be waiting for us when we next close our eyes. Like the eternal cycle of the sun god Ra, each night brings a new opportunity to voyage into the realm of history and legend, guided by the whispers of those who have shaped our world. For now, we rest, lulled by the echoes of a distant time and place. And in the stillness of the night, the great Pharaoh Ramesses II stands watch over our dreams, a silent sentinel guarding the gates of history, inviting us to return again and again to walk in his footsteps and learn from his example, until the dawn comes and we awaken to a world made richer by the journey we have undertaken in the land of dreams. As the morning light brightens, you rise from your gilded bed, ready to embrace your royal duties. But first, you must look the part of the divine ruler you are. Your team of loyal servants surrounds you, each ready to play their role in your elaborate daily preparation ritual. The chief hairdresser steps forward, armed with an array of brushes, combs, and fragrant oils. With expert hands, he arranges your shoulder-length locks into the distinctive style worn only by the pharaoh. Each glossy braid is adorned with golden beads that glint in the sunlight streaming through the tall windows. Next, the royal manicurist kneels before you, working to shape and buff your fingernails to perfection. In ancient Egypt, well-groomed hands and feet are a sign of nobility, setting you apart from the calloused palms of the common labourer. She applies henna in intricate designs, the deep russet pigment contrasting beautifully against your bronzed skin. Now it is time for the pièce de résistance, the donning of the shent, the double crown of Upper and Lower Egypt. This sacred headdress is a powerful symbol of your dominion over the unified lands of the Nile. The red crown of Lower Egypt nestles within the taller white crown of Upper Egypt, the two halves merging into one majestic emblem of your divine authority. Your dresses drape your body in pure white linen, each fold and pleat arranged just so. The fine fabric is cool and light against your skin, a welcome respite from the heat that will soon envelop the land. Over this, a sash of brilliant blue is tied, the same vivid hue as the lapis lazuli stone so prized by Egyptian royalty. Around your neck, a wide collar of gold and semi-precious stones is fastened, each glittering disc arranged in a mesmerizing pattern of concentric circles. This is more than mere adornment. Each gemstone is imbued with symbolic meaning and magical properties to protect and empower the wearer. Finally, your feet are slipped into golden sandals, the supple leather thongs crisscrossing over your ankles. With each step, the sandals will leave a unique imprint, announcing your royal presence wherever you tread. As the last amulet is placed and the last linen smoothed, you catch your reflection in a polished bronze mirror held aloft by a servant. The visage gazing back at you is one of power, grandeur, and unwavering authority. You are every inch the mighty Pharaoh, ready to hold sway over the greatest civilization the world has ever known. But you were not always this resplendent god-king bedecked in gold and glory. No, Your path to the pinnacle of power began long ago, when you were but a young prince learning at the knee of your mighty father. As a royal son of Egypt, you were born into a world of privilege and plenty, your every whim catered to by a vast retinue of servants and slaves. But along with such privilege came weighty responsibility and great expectations. From a tender age, you were groomed in the many roles you would one day need to fill as Pharaoh. You spent long hours in the schoolroom, poring over scrolls of hieroglyphics and learning the complex religious rites you would one day need to perform. You studied mathematics to help you understand the all-important flooding cycles of the Nile and manage the kingdom's granaries and treasuries. But book learning was only one facet of your princely education. As a future warrior king, you also honed your body and mind through physical training. You learned to command a chariot, the fearsome war machine of the ancient world. You practiced the art of archery until you could loose an arrow with unerring accuracy. You wrestled and ran and built your strength, transforming from a slight boy to a lithe, muscular man. All of these years of preparation were but a prelude to the moment of your ultimate ascension, your coronation as Pharaoh. On that fateful day, the Shent crown was placed upon your brow before a multitude of your subjects. The high priest proclaimed you the divine embodiment of Horus, god of kingship and the sky. You were anointed with sacred oils and presented with the crook and flail, the timeless symbols of your dominion. As you took your first steps as the newly crowned Pharaoh, a thunderous cheer erupted from the gathered throng. Their adulation washed over you, a heady elixir of power and adoration. In that moment, you knew your destiny had been fulfilled. You were no longer a mere prince. You were the morning and the evening star, the bodily son of Ra, the living god of Egypt. And all the land was yours to command. With your coronation complete and the god's favor firmly upon you, you settle into the daily rhythms of kingship. Each morning, after your elaborate bathing and dressing rituals, you break your fast on a sumptuous array of fresh breads, fruits, meats, and honey-sweetened delicacies. Then, it is time to shoulder the mantle of leadership and attend to the ceaseless affairs of your kingdom. You hold court in a grand audience chamber, seated upon a gilded throne, elevated above the petitioners and courtiers thronging below. One by one, they approach to seek your counsel, plead their cases, or offer tribute from the far-flung reaches of your domain. There are disputes to settle between quarreling nobles, judgments to render in criminal matters, and dispatches to hear from your armies stationed at the frontiers. Emissaries from foreign lands present lavish gifts and honeyed words, seeking to curry your favor and forge alliances. Through it all, you listen with a regal, impassive mien, dispensing wisdom and edicts with a decisiveness befitting a divine ruler. But even a god-king cannot shoulder the burden of rule alone. You are surrounded by a cadre of trusted advisors, learned scribes, shrewd viziers, and sage high priests who offer their counsel and expertise. They help you navigate the complex web of palace intrigues and power struggles, ferret out potential threats to your reign, and devise strategies to expand Egypt's wealth and might. Of utmost concern is the annual inundation of the Nile, the lifeblood of Egypt's agricultural bounty. Your advisors keep meticulous records of the river's rise and fall, using nilometers to measure the water level and predict the harvest. In years of high flooding and abundant crops, there is cause for celebration and generous offerings to the river god Hapi. But when the waters are low and famine looms, it is to you the people look to intercede with the gods and restore Mayat, the cosmic order and balance. As Pharaoh, you also oversee the vast public works and monumental building projects that are the hallmark of Egyptian civilization. Grand temples must be raised to honor the gods and ensure their continued favor. Sturdy dams and canals are needed to harness the Nile's life-giving waters. and towering pyramids and obelisks must be constructed as eternal testaments to your own divine power and enduring legacy. One of your most ambitious undertakings is the expansion of the great temple complex at Karnak, dedicated to the supreme god Amun-Ra. You decree that a magnificent new hypostyle hall be added, a veritable stone forest of soaring columns capped with capitals in the shape of unfurling papyrus and lotus blossoms. Skilled masons, carvers and painters labor for years to bring your vision to life. Each massive pillar and every inch of wall covered in exquisite hieroglyphic reliefs, extolling the glory of the gods and of your own immortal reign. But not all your duties as Pharoh are so lofty and rarefied. Even a living god must concern himself with the practical realities of rulership, the management of the kingdom's vast holdings and resources. You keep a watchful eye over the royal granaries, ensuring the stores of wheat, barley and other staples are adequate to feed your people. You inspect the mines and quarries that yield the gold, copper and fine limestone that are the building blocks of Egypt's prosperity. And you review the meticulously kept records of tax collections and census counts that keep the gears of your government turning smoothly. Yet even amid the weighty responsibilities of kingship, you still find moments of respite and repose. In the heat of the afternoon, when the sun god Ra rides high in the sky, you retreat to a shaded garden within your palace walls. Here, amid the cool greenery and tinkling fountains, you can shed the mantle of divinity for a time and indulge in simple pleasures. You lounge on cushioned couches, sipping refreshing draughts of beer and nibbling on sweet dates and figs. You engage in leisurely games of Senet, the board game beloved by Egyptian nobles, using delicately carved ivory pieces to navigate the serpentine path to the afterlife. And you delight in the artistic wonders created for your amusement. Dwarves who dance with the grace of gazelles, acrobats who perform gravity-defying feats, and musicians who coax haunting melodies from harps and flutes. Sometimes your most trusted courtiers join you in these interludes of leisure. Over games of chance and cups of wine, you engage in witty repartee, swapping tales and savouring the camaraderie of those who share the rarefied air of the royal inner circle. These stolen moments of laughter and friendship are a cherished counterpoint to the solitary weight of the crown. But even in repose, you are never far from reminders of your own divine status. Everywhere you look, the symbols of your power surround you. The walls of your palace are adorned with vibrant frescoes depicting you as a mighty conqueror, smiting your enemies and receiving the blessings of the gods. Soaring obelisks and colossal statues of your likeness stand sentinel over the land, towering testaments to your unquestioned might. And when you venture forth from your palace, your very presence strikes awe and reverence into the hearts of your subjects. You travel in a grand procession, borne aloft on a golden palanquin by sturdy Nubian slaves. Trumpeters and drummers heralds your approach, their pulsing rhythms parting the sea of humanity before you. Crowds of commoners prostrate themselves as you pass, pressing their foreheads to the dusty earth in abject submission. They chant your many titles and epithets, hailing you as the Lord of the Two Lands, the Great House, the Son of Ra, the Ruler of Rulers. For you are no mere mortal king, but a living god who walks among them, the earthly embodiment of the mighty falcon-headed Horus. And all the wealth and might of Egypt is yours to command. But even as you bask in the adulation of your people and the trappings of your divine status, you know that true greatness demands more than mere displays of opulence and power. A pharaoh must also be a warrior, a conqueror who expands the boundaries of his realm and brings glory to Egypt on the battlefield. And so, when the occasion calls for it, you trade your fine linen robes and golden finery for the trappings of a soldier king. You don the blue war crown, its striking hue echoing the gleaming lapis lazuli that adorns your weapons and armor. You mount your waiting chariot, the wooden frame gleaming with gilt, and the horses champing at their bits, eager for the fray. With a mighty war cry, you lead your armies out across the baking sands, an inexorable force sweeping towards distant lands ripe for conquest. Under the relentless sun, you match wits and might with the enemies of Egypt, the wily Hittites to the north, the fierce Nubians to the south, the rebellious Libyans to the west. You are a formidable foe, a warrior without peer. With bow and arrow, you rain down destruction upon the enemy ranks, each unerring shot finding its mark with deadly precision. With a bronze-tipped spear, you skewer the foes who dare to come within range, their blood staining the desert sands crimson. And with your trusty khopesh, the curved sword of Egyptian kings, you hack and slash your way through the press of battle, felling men like wheat before the scythe. Your courage and prowess on the battlefield become the stuff of legend, whispered around the campfires of your soldiers and etched into the annals of history. They say you have the strength of a bull and the ferocity of a lion, that arrows bounce off your divinely protected body like raindrops off a statue. They say you can single-handedly turn the tide of battle, that the mere sight of your war crown on the horizon is enough to make enemy armies quail and flee. And indeed, victory after victory falls into your lap as you extend the reaches of Egyptian power to new and glorious heights. You exact tribute from cowering kings, their rich gifts of gold, ivory and lapis lazuli, a testament to your unquestioned supremacy. You erect towering stelae in conquered lands, grandiose monuments extolling your triumphs for all eternity, and you watch with satisfaction as Egypt flourishes, its coffers overflowing with the spoils of war, and its people secure in the knowledge of their own unassailable might. Yes, you are Rameses the Great, the Pharaoh of pharaohs, the unrivaled master of all you survey. But even as you revel in your power and glory, you know that the life of a king is not solely one of conquest and triumph. For you are also a husband, a father, a man with the same desires and dynastic dreams as any of your predecessors. In the cool confines of your royal harem, you find respite from the cares of kingship in the arms of your many wives and concubines. But though you enjoy the pleasures of the flesh with countless beautiful women, your true heart belongs to one alone, your beloved chief queen, Nefertari. She is your confidant, your counselor, the mother of your children, and the keeper of your secrets. In her soothing presence, you can drop the mantle of divine majesty and be simply a man, sharing your hopes and fears, your triumphs and trials. Her wisdom guides you, her beauty enchants you, and her love sustains you through the long years of your reign. Together, you preside over a royal family that grows ever larger and more illustrious. You sire a veritable brood of princes and princesses, each one a shining hope for the future of your dynasty. You delight in their youthful energy and precociousness, recognizing in them the same divine spark that animates your own kingly spirit. But even as you cherish these moments of domestic tranquility, you know they are all too fleeting. For the life of a pharaoh is one of constant vigilance and unrelenting responsibility, the burden of a god incarnate, never far from your mind. And so you pour your heart and soul into securing your legacy, into ensuring that your name will endure for all eternity. You build on a scale that beggars belief, raising monuments and temples that will stand for millennia as testaments to your power and piety. At Abu Simbel, you carve colossal likenesses of yourself into the living rock, giant sentinels standing eternal guard over the Nubian frontier. And at your beloved Nefertari's tomb, you commission the most exquisite artwork and craft the most lavish grave goods, all to ensure her immortality in the afterlife. But even as you shape your own legacy, you cannot escape the heavy hand of history and the inescapable realities of the mortal realm. During your long reign, you weather the loss of beloved family members, the betrayal of trusted confidants, the ravages of age on your once virile body. You lock horns with an increasingly powerful priesthood, their spiritual authority a looming threat to your own divine supremacy. And always, there is the spectre of death lurking on the horizon, the knowledge that even the mightiest Pharoh must one day succumb to the inexorable march of time. You take great pains to prepare for your own journey to the afterlife, overseeing the construction of your magnificent tomb in the Valley of the Kings. You stock it with all the treasures and provisions you will need for eternity, golden chariots and jewel-encrusted weapons, fine furnishings and beautiful artworks, even the mummified remains of your most cherished pets. For you know that death is not the end for a Pharaoh, but merely a transition to a new and glorious existence in the eternal realm of the gods. And so, as your long and storied reign draws to a close, you face the great unknown with the same unshakable courage and resolve that has defined your life. With your legacy secure and your succession arranged, you can depart this earthly plane with the knowledge that your name and your deeds will live on forever. That the great Ramesses II, the Pharaoh of Pharaohs, the mighty Ozymandias, will never be forgotten. As your aged body is lovingly prepared for burial, your mortal flesh transformed and preserved for all eternity, you take your place among the great kings of Egypt in the hallowed halls of the afterlife. And though your earthly reign has ended, your divine spirit endures, watching over the land of the Nile and its people for all time. For you are Ramesses the Great, the son of Ra, the living embodiment of Horus on earth. And your name will be spoken with awe and reverence for as long as the pyramids endure, and the waters of the Nile flow from the mountains to the sea. And so, as we gently drift towards sleep, we leave ancient Egypt and its awe-inspiring monuments behind us. As the scorching Egyptian sun rises higher in the sky, you find a moment's respite from your royal duties in the cool shade of the palace gardens. The sweet fragrance of lotus blossoms drifts on the gentle breeze, mingling with the soft burbling of ornamental fountains. These tranquil surroundings offer a welcome retreat from the clamour of the royal court. You stroll along well-manicured paths, admiring the orderly rows of date palms heavy with ripening fruit. Ducks paddle leisurely in a glimmering pond, while brightly plumed birds flit among the foliage. Every element of this lush oasis has been meticulously designed and maintained to provide both beauty and sustenance for the royal household. As a living god tasked with upholding Ma'at, the cosmic order and balance, you understand the importance of tending to the natural world, just as you tend to the needs of your people. These gardens serve as a microcosm of the agricultural rhythms that sustain life along the Nile. Their bounty fills the palace storehouses and makes offerings to the gods. Amidst a grove of fig trees, a small group of musicians awaits to entertain you. At a nod from you, they begin to play, their harmonies carried on the fragrant air. The gentle notes of harps, lutes, and flutes weave an hypnotic melody, soothing to the ear and spirit. Music has always been a balm for you, a way to quiet your thoughts when the pressures of kingship weigh heavily. You recall many a long night spent in your private chambers, unable to sleep for the whirl of worries in your head. But always, the palace musicians were there to comfort you, playing softly to ease you into dreams. Even in this more informal garden setting, the musicians keep their eyes respectfully lowered, aware that it would be the height of impudence to gaze directly upon the Pharaoh. To them, as to all your subjects, you are a remote and awe-inspiring figure, your divinity setting you apart from common men. But in rare unguarded moments like this, listening to the lull of the music and the whisper of the breeze through the leaves, you can almost imagine yourself as just a man. One with outsized cares and responsibilities, true, but a man nonetheless, capable of savouring life's simple pleasures. Of course, such reveries never last long. Too soon, a royal scribe approaches with a deferential bow to murmur that the vizier seeks your attention on an urgent matter of state. With a sigh, you dismiss the musicians and turn your mind back to the countless tasks that fill a pharaoh's day. But as you leave the peace of the gardens behind, you take comfort in knowing that this small sanctuary will be waiting whenever you need to steal a moment of calm amid the unrelenting demands of your royal role. Though ancient Egypt is renowned for its monumental architecture, its towering pylons and obelisks, its cavernous hypostyle halls, these gardens are a reminder that the kingdom's true wealth lay in its fertile soil and teeming wildlife. The sacred Nile and its lush banks made civilization possible in an unforgiving desert landscape. As ruler of the Black Land, you are keenly aware that Egypt's fortunes rise and fall with the great river's annual floods. During your reign, you have prioritized maintaining and expanding the network of canals and dikes that harness the Nile's bounty to water the fields and fill the granaries. In this way, you safeguard Ma'at and secure the kingdom's prosperity. Such timeless cycles of planting and harvest form the backbone of Egyptian society and have done for generations stretching back into the mists of history. Long before your ancestors raised the first mud brick mastabas, long before the first pharaohs donned the double crown, it was the river's gift of rich black silt that drew people to settle along its banks. As you cross the threshold, back into the bustle of the palace complex, your reverie on Egypt's eternal rhythms is broken by the press of petitioners and functionaries jostling for your attention. Each day is a constant juggling act of religious rituals, kingly duties, and strategic planning. But through it all, the promise of those quiet gardens and the music that transports you from your cares serves as a touchstone, a reminder of what you are working to preserve and protect. Setting aside your wistful dreams of solitude, you square your shoulders and turn to face the next pressing matter of state. The seasons will turn, the river will rise and fall, harvests will come and go. But the realm endures only through the tireless efforts of the Lord of the Two Lands, who serves as the god's representative on earth. And so you press on, secure in your divine purpose as king. Leaving the music-filled gardens behind, you stride purposefully through gilded halls, the business of the kingdom already occupying your mind. Your advisors and courtiers hasten to fall in step around you, ready as ever to cater to your every command. You pause briefly to acknowledge a phalanx of guards who snap to attention at your approach, lowering their spears in salute. Their polished bronze armor glints in the slanting sunlight that pierces the clerestory windows. This palace has been your home since birth, the grand stage upon which your life has played out in all its triumphs and sorrows. Every column and lintel, every painted frieze and tiled floor holds memories. Here you took your first wobbling steps, toddling after the indulgent figure of your father the Pharaoh. Here you trained with wooden swords and bows under the exacting eye of the kingdom's finest military instructors. And here you ascended the throne, amid the joyous acclamations of the court, the swell of hymns and the smoke of incense. You can still recall with crystalline clarity that heady mix of exultation and trepidation as the heavy crown of your forefathers settled upon your brow. In that moment, you ceased to be merely a prince and became a god incarnate, the living Horus tasked with upholding the order of the universe. The weight of that responsibility has never grown lighter. If anything, the passing years have impressed upon you with ever greater urgency the magnitude of your duties. The lives and fortunes of every soul in Egypt, from the meanest serf to the most exalted nobleman, rest upon your shoulders. It is your sacrifices, your leadership, your very Ka, your divine life force, that sustains the two lands and keeps the forces of chaos at bay. These thoughts occupy you as you sweep into the audience chamber, where the day's petitioners await your judgment. Mounting the steps of the dais, you settle yourself upon the golden throne, the eyes of the assembled courtiers trained on your every move. At a gesture from you, the first supplicant prostrates himself before you, ready to plead his case. As you listen with a carefully impassive expression, your mind drifts back to your father's example. How many times had you watched him dispense justice from this very seat, his face stern, but his eyes always alert and thoughtful? He had been a pharaoh of both strength and wisdom, slow to anger, but decisive in action. You strive each day to rule as he did, to be the kind of king he would be proud of. The petitioner before you spins a convoluted tale of a land dispute with his neighbor, each accusing the other of moving boundary stones to encroach upon the other's fields. Such squabbles are tediously common, but you know that even the pettiest conflicts can escalate into blood feuds if left unresolved. Preserving harmony among your subjects is one of the many balancing acts required of a pharaoh. When the man finishes his appeal, you take a moment to weigh his words, aware of the expectant hush that has fallen over the chamber. Then, in a calm, clear voice that brooks no argument, you render your decision. Let the land be divided evenly between the two men, and let them each swear before the gods to uphold the new boundary. There is a murmur of approval from the assembled courtiers. Your judgment is fair and measured, designed to leave both parties with their honor and livelihoods intact. The petitioner bows low, effusive in his thanks, before backing away from the throne. And so the day's business continues, a steady stream of supplicants bringing their grievances and disputes before you. Some are easily resolved, others will require further investigation and consultation with your advisors, but all are given a fair hearing, for that is the duty of the pharaoh, to be the supreme arbiter and lawgiver for all Egypt. As the last petitioner retreats and the audience chamber empties, you allow yourself a moment to slump back against the unyielding stone of the throne. The crown feels heavy upon your brow, the regalia of kingship suddenly stifling in the close, perfumed air. But such moments of weariness are fleeting. You are the pharaoh, the son of Ra, the living embodiment of the gods on earth. Your word shapes the course of the two lands. Your strength and wisdom, the bulwark that holds back the forces of chaos. There is no room for doubt or weakness in the heart of a king. With a resolute sigh, you heave yourself to your feet, ready to face the next challenge the gods have placed before you. The sun is riding high in the heavens now, Ra's celestial bark reaching its zenith. There are ceremonies to officiate, offerings to make, a realm to govern. The cares of the Black Land rest heavy upon your shoulders, but you bear them gladly. For this is your birthright and your destiny, to rule as pharaoh over the mightiest civilization the world has ever known. And rule you shall, until that distant day when you take your place among the imperishable stars, your name and deeds etched for eternity upon the monuments of your reign. As we gaze out across the shimmering waters of the Nile from the royal palace balcony, it's easy to feel the immense power and responsibility that rests upon your shoulders as the great Pharaoh Ramesses II. The weight of an entire civilization, the hopes and dreams of millions of subjects, all looking to you for guidance, protection, and prosperity. It's a role that requires unwavering strength, wisdom, and divine blessing, qualities that you have spent a lifetime cultivating. From a young age, you were groomed for greatness, molded into a leader worthy of the double crown. Your education was unparalleled, your military training rigorous, your sense of divine destiny unshakable. Every waking moment was dedicated to preparing you for this immense duty, to be not just a ruler, but a living god among men. As you take in the bustling city of Pyramesses stretched out before you, your mind drifts back to the day of your coronation. The sacred rituals, the chanting priests, the anointing oils and incense smoke, all consecrating your divine right to rule. You remember the weight of the Shent crown as it was placed upon your head, the red crown of Lower Egypt and the white crown of Upper Egypt, symbolizing your dominion over the two lands. In that moment, you ceased to be merely a prince. You became a pharaoh, a god incarnate, the earthly embodiment of Horus and Ra. But heavy is the head that wears the double crown, as you quickly came to learn. The affairs of the kingdom are never ending, each day bringing new challenges and decisions that all rest upon your shoulders. From the moment you take your seat upon the golden throne each morning, a parade of advisors, priests, and petitioners await your judgment and decree. There are reports on the annual flooding of the Nile, so crucial to the harvest and the lifeblood of Egypt. There are updates on the many grand construction projects underway, the temples, the statues, the monuments that will carry your legacy into eternity. There are emissaries from foreign lands bearing tribute and trade offers, alliances to be forged or enemies to be conquered. It's a delicate balance, a never-ending dance of diplomacy and show of strength, all to maintain Ma'at, the cosmic order and harmony that is your sacred duty to uphold. But even a living god needs respite from the weight of rulership. In stolen moments of leisure, you find solace in the simple pleasures of palace life. A stroll through the lush gardens, fragrant with lotus blossoms and alive with the chirping of exotic birds. An afternoon spent in idle conversation and laughter with your most trusted courtiers. A lively game of senet, the game of passing, with its clicking ivory pieces and air of friendly competition among players. Or perhaps most treasured of all, the evenings spent in the royal harem with your beloved Chief Queen Nefertari and your many wives and children. Within those walls, you can shed the mantle of Pharoh and simply be a husband, a father, a man. The politics and pressures of the kingdom feel distant as you bask in the warmth of family, savouring the giggles of your children, the soft melodies of the musicians, the graceful swirls of the dancers. These are the moments that remind you what you're fighting for, what really matters amidst the grandeur and spectacle of kingship. But even in repose, your mind never strays far from the duties and projects that will define your reign. Towering above them all is the colossal temple complex at Abu Simbel, a monument so audacious in scale and ambition that it will be the marvel of the age. You can picture it clearly, the 4 titanic statues of yourself hewn directly from the mountainside, gazing out eternally over the Nile, the great hall of columns, the intricate reliefs depicting your triumphs and paying homage to the gods. A feat of engineering, artistry, and sheer force of will that will leave no doubt of your power and majesty. Of course, that power must be won and defended on the battlefield, as well as in stone and story. You flash back to the many military campaigns of your reign, the hot desert wind whipping at your face as you charge ahead of your army atop your war chariot. The Hittites, the Nubians, the Libyans, all have felt the might of your sword and the thunder of your chariots. The thrill of hard-fought victory, the glory of expanding Egypt's reach and influence with each conquered foe. In these moments, you are Ramesses, the warrior king, your legend growing with each battle cry and fallen enemy. But war is a fickle mistress, and not every campaign ends in triumph. The Battle of Kadesh against the Hittite king Muwatalli II was a hard-learned lesson in hubris and humility. Ambushed and outnumbered, it was only by the grace of Amun-Ra and your own valor that you escaped with your life, rallying your forces and fighting on against all odds. The eventual stalemate and resulting peace treaty taught you the wisdom of compromise, of choosing one's battles and knowing when to lay down arms. It's a wisdom hard-earned over a reign that has stretched on for an astonishing 66 years. From your early days as co-ruler with your father Seti Prae to your twilight years as the elder statesman of the two lands, you have weathered countless challenges and triumphs. You have built monuments, sired over 100 children, expanded borders, brokered peace and earned your place in the eternal memory of Egypt. Through it all, your driving purpose has been to uphold Ma'at, to be the strong and just ruler that your people deserve, to honor the gods and carry forward the legacy of your forebears. But even the greatest of pharaohs cannot reign forever. In your later years, your thoughts turn ever more to succession, to ensuring a smooth transition of power that will maintain Egypt's stability and prosperity. It's with great care and consideration that you choose your 13th son Meneptah as your heir, investing in him all your hopes and knowledge. You guide him as co-ruler in your final years, sharing the hard-learned lessons of kingship, preparing him to carry on your work and your memory. And when at last your time on this earthly plane draws to a close, you greet the afterlife with open arms, secure in the knowledge that your legacy will endure. The elaborate rituals of mummification, the 70 days of mourning, the splendor of your funeral procession to your regal tomb in the Valley of the Kings. It's a final tribute befitting a ruler of your stature. As your spirit ascends to take its place among the gods, you know that your name and your deeds will live on, etched in stone and memory for all of eternity. For that is the ultimate aspiration of any pharaoh, to achieve immortality, to become one with the gods, to have one's story told and retold down through the ages. And in this, Ramesses the Great, you have surely succeeded. The long arc of your reign, from the banks of the Nile to the furthest reaches of your empire, will be remembered as a golden age, a time of prosperity, power, and cultural flowering. Your monuments will endure for millennia. Your name will be spoken with reverence and awe. Your legacy will be celebrated as one of the greatest rulers in Egypt's long and storied history. As you drift off into the eternal sleep of the afterlife, your final thoughts are ones of gratitude and fulfillment. To have lived such a life, to have held the fate of a civilization in your hands, to have walked as a god among men, it is the rarest of privileges, the greatest of honors. And though your time on earth has reached its end, you know that your story is only beginning, that you will live on in the hearts and minds of your people for all of time. Centuries later, modern Egyptians still live and work in the shadow of your legacy. The mighty statues of Abu Simbel still stand sentinel over the Nile. The Ramesseum still bears witness to your glory. The temples and tombs of Thebes still whisper your name. Farmers till the same fertile soil. Artisans ply the same ancient trades. The sun rises and sets over the same timeless landscape that you once called your own. Though the world has changed beyond recognition, the essence of Egypt endures, an unbroken thread stretching back to the age of the pharaohs. And so we leave the great Ramesses II to his eternal rest, secure in the knowledge that his legacy will never be forgotten. As we drift off to sleep ourselves, lulled by the gentle rhythms of history, we carry with us a newfound appreciation for the triumphs and trials of those who came before, for the weight of leadership and the enduring power of a life well lived. In our dreams, perhaps we too will walk the halls of the pharaohs, feel the warmth of the Egyptian sun on our faces, and hear the whispers of eternity in the timeless waters of the Nile. The steady hoofbeats of your war chariot resound across the battlefield as you lead your troops in another valiant campaign. As Ramesses the Great, military glory is an integral part of your reign and legacy. You've marched against the Nubians to the south, quelling rebellions and bringing those gold-rich lands firmly under Egyptian control. To the west, you've subdued the troublesome Libyans, ensuring safe and prosperous borders. But perhaps your most legendary military feats are your clashes with Egypt's formidable rivals to the north, the Hittites. Over a series of campaigns, you've led your armies in a protracted struggle for control of Syria and the strategic city of Kadesh. The battles are fierce, sometimes yielding victories, other times forcing hard-fought retreats. All the while, your prowess as a warrior king grows. One of the most pivotal moments comes in the 5th year of your reign, around 1274 BCE, when you again face off with the Hittites at Kadesh. As your scouts report a Hittite retreat, you press forward, only to realize too late that you've been duped and now face a much larger force. Surrounded and outnumbered, you rally your men with an impassioned speech. Then, in your shining armor and blue war crown, you mount your chariot, take up bow and arrow, and charge valiantly into the fray. The odds seem insurmountable, but through your courage and skill, and with timely reinforcements, you manage to turn the tide. While not quite the resounding victory the inscriptions on your temples might suggest, you fight the Hittites to a stalemate and live to battle another day. This heroic stand at Kadesh becomes the stuff of legends, immortalized in poems and carvings. The Kadesh confrontation proves to be a turning point. After more than a decade of intermittent hostilities, you and the Hittite king Hattusili, the third tire of the toll of war. In a remarkable act of diplomacy, you negotiate a historic peace treaty, the earliest known in history. Inscribed on silver tablets, one copy in Egyptian hieroglyphs and the other in Akkadian cuneiform, the treaty establishes a mutual alliance and moves the border to a mutually agreeable location. To seal this new era of peace, you even take a Hittite princess as one of your many brides. This marriage is not just a political alliance, but a symbol of the new harmony between the two great superpowers of the age. With the threat from the Hittites neutralized, you're free to focus on strengthening Egypt's borders elsewhere and on your many monumental building projects. Yet even in peacetime, you never lose your warrior spirit. You continue to train your troops, build up your arsenals, and glorify your past battlefield exploits. In your temples and monuments throughout Egypt and Nubia, you have yourself depicted as a mighty conqueror, smiting enemies and towering over foes. At the massive Abu Simbel temple, carved into a cliff face far to the south, colossal statues of you in your battle regalia stare out imposingly over the land you rule. Your reputation as a warrior king is so great that later generations will remember you first and foremost for your military accomplishments. In Greek histories written centuries later, you will be memorialized as Ozymandias, the mighty conqueror king of Egypt. Even 1,000 years after your reign, your name will still be invoked to inspire courage in battle. But there is much more to your reign than wars and conquest. In between campaigns, you steal peaceful moments with your chief queen Nefertari and your many wives and children in the royal harem. These women are not mere ornaments, but companions and counselors, and in the case of Nefertari, a true partner in power. Nefertari is your first and most beloved queen. Famed for her beauty, intelligence, and strength of character, she is your confidant and trusted advisor. She even takes on important diplomatic roles, corresponding with the Hittite queen Puduhepa to help broker the peace. Your love for Nefertari is carved into eternity in the exquisite temple you build for her at Abu Simbel, where she is depicted as the embodiment of Hathor, the goddess of love and beauty. Surrounded by the clever and capable women of your harem, and watching your many children grow, you feel the joys and burdens of fatherhood. You take great care to educate your sons and daughters, to prepare them for their roles in the royal court and in the governing of Egypt. You and Nefertari even journey with your daughters to Thebes for the beautiful festival of Opet, celebrating their coming of age and entry into adulthood. But even a great pharaoh is not immune to the sorrows of life. You endure the unbearable pain of outliving many of your own children. Most devastating of all is the loss of your beloved Nefertari. When she dies around the 24th year of your reign, you grieve deeply for her, sparing no expense for her elaborate tomb in the Valley of the Queens. There, she is surrounded by brightly painted scenes of her journey to the blessed afterlife, escorted by gods and goddesses. As the years pass and your reign stretches on, your thoughts turn more and more to securing your legacy. With so many of your sons predeceasing you, you must choose your 13th son Merneptah as your successor. Though not your first choice, Merneptah proves to be a capable ruler in his own right. In one of the most fascinating relics from Merneptah's reign, a large stone slab carved with his victory inscriptions makes the first known historical mention of Israel. This tantalizing clue offers a glimpse into the complex interplay of peoples and kingdoms in the region, and a possible intersection with early biblical history. After an astonishing 66 years on the throne, and close to 90 years of life, your own time finally draws near. You've left an indelible mark on Egypt, with your name and image emblazoned across the land on statues, temples, obelisks, and monuments. You've expanded Egypt's borders, forged key alliances, and presided over an era of stability and prosperity. As you feel the weight of years upon you and your health failing, you begin to prepare for your final journey to the afterlife. You've spent years building and furnishing your magnificent tomb in the Valley of the Kings, filling it with all the treasures and essentials you'll need for eternity. When at last you close your eyes for the final time, your subjects mourn deeply for their departed Pharoh. Your mummified body undergoes the sacred rituals, lovingly attended to by priests and embalmers for 70 days and nights. Amid incense and incantations, protective amulets and inscribed spells, you're carefully wrapped in fine linen, adorned with a beautiful burial mask, and laid to rest in a series of nested coffins. On the day of your funeral, all of Egypt seems to come to a standstill. A grand procession conveys your mummy across the Nile, from the east bank of the living to the west bank of the dead, and then onto your tomb in the Valley of the Kings. Priests in leopard skins burn incense and recite prayers. Mourners fill the air with their lamentations, and offerings of food, flowers, and precious goods are made to provision you in the afterlife. In your rich burial chamber, surrounded by the fabulous treasures of your tomb, you begin your final transition. Your ba, or spirit, leaves your body to begin the perilous journey through the underworld. With the aid of the spells and guidebooks entombed with you, you navigate past demons and obstacles. Your heart weighed on the scales of Mayat against the feather of truth. Having lived a just life, you pass this final test and emerge, reborn, into the field of reeds. Here, in this perfect mirror of the living world, you reunite with your beloved Nefertari and your ancestors, and take your place among the gods. The mortal king is now one with Osiris, god of the underworld and symbol of resurrection. As your day, and indeed your life, as the great Pharaoh Ramesses II comes to an end, your legacy is only beginning. Your 66-year reign has left an incomparable mark on Egypt. During your time on the throne, Egypt has grown to the largest extent in its history, its borders stretching from modern-day Syria to the Sudan. You've commanded the resources of the kingdom to build awe-inspiring monuments that will endure for millennia. The likes of Abu Simbel, the Ramesseum, Pi Ramesses. You've cultivated international ties, engaging in battles but also diplomacy, signing a historic peace treaty with the Hittites. You've fathered over 100 children and have been served by a stable and capable cadre of officials and administrators. Through your leadership, Egypt has enjoyed a period of power, prosperity, and cultural efflorescence that will be remembered as one of the high points of its long and storied history. The scope of your impact is so profound that it will echo through the ages. In the centuries and millennia to come, as the sands slowly cover the monuments of your reign, as your mummy rests quietly in its tomb, your name will live on. Future pharaohs will invoke you as the very model of a great ruler, a mighty warrior, and builder king without compare. Your exploits will be retold in papyrus scrolls and carved into temple walls, becoming the stuff of legend. Even today, over 3,000 years after your reign, your presence can still be keenly felt in the land of Egypt. At Abu Simbel, your colossal statue still stands sentinel, gazing out over the Nile. In museums around the world, your monumental statuary and delicate tomb paintings draw millions of visitors, inspiring awe and wonder at the grandeur of your age. Your mummy too survived the millennia, albeit battered by tomb robbers and the ravages of time. In 1881, when your tomb was uncovered, the world thrilled at this tangible physical connection to the great Rameses II. Your wooden coffin lid, adorned with your serene, finely carved face, and your mummified body, reveal the visage of the man behind the legend. Perhaps most poignant are the vestiges of your reign that still suffuse the daily lives of modern Egyptians. Farmers still till the fertile fields of the Nile, nourished by the same annual inundations that sustained your kingdom. In the bustling streets of Cairo, people walk and talk and live their lives in the shadow of the monuments you and your fellow pharaohs left behind. This, then, is the enduring legacy of your extraordinary reign, a legacy carved into stone, but also into the very lifeblood of Egypt. As the Pharaoh Rameses II, you've not only shaped the course of history, but have left an indelible imprint on the centuries of lives that followed. Your day may have drawn to a close, but your story, the story of a legendary ruler of a legendary land, lives on, timeless and eternal as the waters of the Nile. As the morning sun climbs higher in the azure sky, its warm rays bathe the opulent palace gardens in a golden glow. The air is filled with the gentle tinkling of water fountains and the melodic chirping of exotic birds. As you stroll through the lush greenery, inhaling the sweet fragrance of lotus blossoms, it's easy to forget the weighty responsibilities that await you in the royal court. But duty calls, and as the living embodiment of the god Horus on earth, your divine obligations cannot be ignored. With a sigh, you reluctantly tear yourself away from the tranquil oasis and make your way back inside the palace walls. Your advisors and courtiers bow low as you sweep past, your every step imbued with the regal bearing of a king. In the grand audience chamber, you take your place upon the golden throne, adorned with the symbols of your power, the crook and flail. Before you stretches a sea of petitioners, each eager to catch a glimpse of their divine ruler. With a nod, you signal for the first to approach. The man falls to his knees, touching his forehead to the cool stone floor in abject reverence. In a quavering voice, he begs for your intervention in a land dispute with his neighbor. You listen patiently, weighing the evidence with the wisdom of a Solomon. At last, you render your judgment fair and just, as befits a true pharaoh. The petitioner babbles his gratitude as he is led away. And so it goes, hour after hour, as you hear cases big and small. Some are trifling matters, easily dispensed with. Others are more complex, requiring all your cunning and discernment to untangle. Through it all, you strive to emulate the great sun god Ra, who brings light and order to the world. But even a living god must eat, and as the day wears on, your stomach begins to rumble with hunger. At last, you call a halt to the proceedings and retire to your private chambers for a sumptuous midday meal. The low table is laden with all manner of delicacies: succulent roast fowl, fresh figs and dates, creamy lentil stew, and warm, crusty bread. You dine leisurely, savouring each mouthful, as servants flutter around you like hummingbirds, refilling your cup with cool pomegranate juice. Hunger sated, you allow yourself a moment of respite, reclining on silken cushions as a troupe of musicians and dancers enters the chamber. The air fills with the hypnotic strains of harps and lyres, flutes and sistrums. Lithe figures sway and undulate to the beat of hand drums, their diaphanous linen robes fluttering like moths' wings. You watch with hooded eyes, your mind drifting like a lazy current. The The music seems to weave a spell around you, and you feel your limbs grow heavy with a pleasant drowsiness. How easy it would be to surrender to the soft embrace of sleep, to let the cares of the kingdom fade away like mist beneath the noonday sun. But there is no rest for the divine, and all too soon, the performance is over. You rouse yourself with an effort, knowing that many tasks still lie ahead. With a reluctant sigh, you heave yourself up from your comfortable nest and steel your shoulders once more beneath the mantle of kingship. The remainder of the afternoon passes in a blur of meetings and consultations. You confer with your chief scribe over the latest harvest reports from the Nile Delta, frowning at the news of lower than expected yields. A failed flood this year, the scribe informs you nervously, his reed pen poised above the unfurled scroll. Farmers are already grumbling about a lean winter ahead. You resist the urge to massage your throbbing temples, knowing that such a display of human frailty is beneath you. Instead, you order emergency grain reserves released from the royal granaries, just enough to tide your people over until the next planting season. It will mean belt-tightening in the palace, but your duty to your subjects outweighs all other concerns. Next come the foreign ambassadors, each bearing honeyed words and lavish gifts from their distant kings. You greet them with cool civility, accepting their tributes with a royal nod. A chest of rare cedar wood from Lebanon, a matched pair of Nubian ivory tusks, bolts of fine linen from Byblos, all are duly noted and added to your treasury. But you are too canny a ruler to be swayed by baubles and flattery alone. You probe for news of shifting alliances, trade rivalries, potential military threats to your borders. The game of diplomacy is a delicate dance, and one misstep could bring disaster upon Egypt. You vow to remain ever vigilant, a lion guarding his pride. At last, as the shadows lengthen and the day's heat begins to fade, you retire to your private apartments high in the palace's cool limestone heart. Here, you can shed the weight of your crowns and scepters and be simply a man, albeit the most powerful man in the known world. Your beloved Chief Queen Nefertari greets you with a radiant smile, her slender arms twining around your neck like lotus stems. In the sweet refuge of her embrace, you allow yourself to forget, however briefly, the myriad cares that press upon you. For a few stolen moments, you are simply a husband, a father, a lover. But even this idyll cannot last forever. As the last light fades from the sky and the stars wheel overhead, you know that the time has come to rest. Tomorrow will bring its own trials and challenges, and you must be ready to meet them with all the strength and wisdom of a god-king. With a sigh, you stretch out upon your bed, the soft linen sheets cool against your skin. As your heavy eyelids drift closed, you offer up a silent prayer to the great god Amun-Ra, he who is Lord of all. Let my reign be long and prosperous. Let my armies be victorious, my harvests bountiful. Let my name be remembered for generations to come as a wise and just ruler who brought glory to the two lands. This I ask in your divine and everlasting name. And with that, you surrender yourself to the waiting arms of sleep, secure in the knowledge that your legacy will endure for all eternity. For you are Ramesses the Great, King of Kings, ruler of the Nile, living God on earth. And though empires may rise and fall, your name will live forever, carved in stone and etched in the memory of men until the end of time itself. As this revered pharaoh peacefully slumbers, we are left to quietly admire the undeniable impact he had on ancient Egypt's already storied civilization. Through his canny diplomacy and skillful governance, Ramesses II presided over an era of great prosperity and accomplishment. During his long and steady reign, Egypt's borders expanded to encompass far-flung territories in all directions, its mighty armies marching with confidence over vanquished lands. Great temples rose along the Nile to proclaim the pharaoh's glory, their massive pillars and soaring arches mirroring the lofty ambitions of their creator. At Abu Simbel, gigantic rock-cut figures of Rameses himself gazed out over the river, an enduring testament to his power and permanence. In the realm of international relations, this silver-tongued statesman proved as adept at negotiating alliances as he was at swinging a sword. His crowning diplomatic achievement was the hard-won peace treaty with the rival Hittite Empire, a pact that brought welcome stability to the region after years of ruinous warfare. But Ramesses' influence extended far beyond his own lifetime. The sheer scale and grandeur of his monuments would inspire countless later kings to emulate his example, seeking to etch their own names into the eternal stone of history. Even today, over 3,000 years after his passing, the name Ramesses remains synonymous with the power, prestige, and permanence of ancient Egypt itself. And so we leave this legendary leader to his well-earned rest, knowing that his deeds will live on in the hearts and minds of generations yet to come. For in the end, perhaps that is the true measure of greatness, not the fleeting glories of a single lifetime, but the enduring legacy one leaves behind. As we gently withdraw from the Pharaoh's chamber and the scene slowly fades, the only sound is the soft, steady breathing of a man at peace, a god among mortals who shaped the course of nations with his own two hands. And though the world outside may change and shift like the desert sands, here in this timeless place, Ramesses the Great will slumber on, forever cradled in the immortal embrace of history. The end. As the sun dips below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant shades of orange and pink, you find yourself back in your opulent bedchamber, the same place where this extraordinary day began. The gentle breeze from the Nile wafts through the open windows, carrying with it the scent of lotus blossoms and papyrus. You recline on your soft bed, draped in fine linens, as your servants quietly attend to your every need. Your mind wanders back over the incredible journey of your life as Ramesses the Great. From your early days as a young prince, learning at the feet of the wisest scholars and training with the most skilled warriors, to your ascension to the throne as the divine ruler of all Egypt. You've faced countless challenges and triumphs, always guided by your unwavering belief in your own destiny and the favor of the gods. As you lie there, surrounded by the trappings of your power and wealth, you can't help but feel a deep sense of satisfaction and pride. You've left an indelible mark on the world, one that will endure for centuries, even millennia to come. Your monuments and temples, your victories on the battlefield, your diplomatic successes, all of these will be remembered and celebrated long after you've departed this earthly realm. Your eyes grow heavy as you sink deeper into the plush cushions of your bed. The soft murmur of your servants' voices and the gentle lapping of the Nile against the palace walls lull you into a state of deep relaxation. You know that when you close your eyes, you'll drift off into a peaceful slumber, secure in the knowledge that your legacy is secure. As you slip into the welcoming embrace of sleep, your mind is filled with visions of the afterlife that awaits you. You see yourself standing before the great god Osiris, your heart weighed on the scales of truth against the feather of Ma'at. You know that you've lived a life of righteousness and justice, and that your heart will be found pure and worthy. You see yourself journeying through the underworld, guided by the god Anubis, facing the challenges and trials that await you with courage and resolve. And finally, you see yourself emerging into the eternal paradise of the Field of Reeds, greeted by the gods and your ancestors, forever young and vital in the warm glow of the sun. As the last vestiges of consciousness slip away, you feel a sense of deep peace and contentment wash over you. You know that your journey as Ramesses the Great has been one of epic proportions, filled with wonder, adventure, and achievement. And now, as you drift off into the realm of dreams, you can rest easy knowing that your story will be told and retold for generations to come. The gentle rise and fall of your chest slows as you finally succumb to the call of sleep. The world around you fades away, replaced by the infinite expanse of your own imagination. And though your eyes are closed and your body is still, your spirit soars free, ready to embrace the endless possibilities of the afterlife. As we come to the end of our journey through the life and times of Ramesses the Great, we hope that you too have been transported to another time and place, lulled into a state of deep relaxation and peace. The story of this remarkable pharaoh is one that has captivated the hearts and minds of people for centuries, and we feel privileged to have been able to share it with you. If you've enjoyed this immersive exploration of ancient Egyptian history, we invite you to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more soothing and informative content designed to help you drift off into a peaceful slumber. Until next time, may your dreams be filled with the wonders of the ancient world, and may you wake feeling refreshed and inspired. Good night and sweet dreams.